Good afternoon. I'm Dan Bresnahan, editor here with OwenBloggers, along with fellow editor Stephanie Dozier, and we are joined by Professor Tim Vogus, a newly tenured professor here at Owen, and one of the favorite professors here among many of the students. So welcome, Tim. Thank you for being with us today.
Pleasure.
Now, you've been on the faculty here at Owen since 2004. What changes have you seen in that time?
One of the big changes has been, when I started here, the idea of a healthcare MBA was just that, an idea. So I had always been interested in doing research in the healthcare domain, but I really just took a flyer believing that the school would actually pursue that objective when I was hired. So that's been, I would say, a pretty massive change, because it's a big programmatic change. Adding the niche programs has also been a change. MAC, MSF, Masters of Management, Healthcare, those are all new additions since I've been here. But one thing that hasn't changed, even though we've had some curriculum changes, things like that, I would say the culture of the school still holds. And one of the big appeals for me coming here was I felt like it was a place that really valued research, really valued teaching. It was a high-touch kind of culture where you get to actually know your students as human beings and not just as numbers in the class.
Maybe just talk about, I guess, kind of your angle, what you want the students to get out once they leave your class and can apply to their career, to their internships, etc.
Well, I want students to be more reflective about their own experiences. So in leading teams and organizations, I force that a lot. I make you write, what do you think? We have this case, I give you some questions. They're not just questions to ponder. I make you actually distill it into something, write something, because I want you to reflect on your own experiences in a more systematic way. I also want you to incorporate those experiences to new situations you encounter. So I think it's just that mindset of learning, openness, getting feedback, adapting what you do. That's one big takeaway from LTO. I know that's pretty general, but I think that kind of skill is one that serves people well in the workplace. In negotiation, I want people to, we're just talking about this before we started, be willing to have that conversation. Be willing to engage in a negotiation with an employer or in any kind of setting where you're buying something with a significant other, with an insignificant other, to be able to engage in the act of negotiating. I think having that confidence to do it, I think is important. And I think the same thing is true with leading too, because a lot of it's about having the confidence to ask questions, having the confidence to make an assertion about what you think is the right direction to take something. Say, my action plan is actually a valid action plan. I don't have to defer to somebody because they have 20 years experience or because they're in a certain formal position in the organization. My ideas are valid too.
Could you talk to us a little bit about how you structure your courses?
Sure. So with negotiation class, what I want to give people is a lot of experience actually doing the negotiation, because I think that's really the source of confidence they can have in going out into the real world and doing negotiation. In fact, I require, as you may remember, Stephanie, you to do a real world negotiation and write a paper about it. So negotiate for something you might not normally negotiate for and kind of take you out of your comfort zone and do it that way. So I try to make both negotiation and leading teams and organizations very experiential. So you're grounded in either it's a real case or it's a simulation. So you're actually doing something and having to make a choice, take a stand, because that's what's going to surface your intuition and force you to distill it into an action plan and actually be accountable for something in class. So it's not just debating things at a very high abstract level. Sometimes when it's just kind of an interactive lecture, that's what it is. We're talking about it. Oh, we need to talk about synergies and leading and holding people accountable, but those are all phrases that have no meaning unless you're actually making tough choices. So I want to have cases that are structured in a way that forces people to make a tough choice. A simulation that is the act of making a tough choice, or a tough negotiation, negotiating with an obnoxious person. So
you must have a lot of funny examples from the real life negotiations that students have done for class. I remember in my class someone had written a paper called "Getting Her to Yes."
Yes,
what do you think has been the best one that you've seen?
Well, best and most outrageous are probably two different things.
Okay, most outrageous.
One time where the two aligned, where the person actually wrote a really brilliant paper, but it was a very disturbing example, was a student I had a few years back who negotiated with a homeless person over how much they were going to give them. And
wow.
I thought that was, yeah. So they did a nice job analyzing it. It was a little bit creepy. I see papers that no other professor sees.
So, in your time when you're not at Owen, you rap under the name T-Love. How did that get started, and what was the inspiration behind that name?
So, that's it. So my love of rap music started when I was a very young person. I was 9 years old, and so my brother actually got this tape. There were actually these things called tapes, audio cassettes, and it was called Electric Breakdance, and it had on there like Jam on it. It had Run DMC before they hit it big with Walk This Way in the mid-'80s. This was off their first album, and there was a song called It's Like That, and that song just blew my mind. That and Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five, White Lines, so these were just like kind of message songs, but they were just the beats and the rhymes were, it was incredible. And I grew up in an area, I grew up on the border of kind of West Bloomfield and Pontiac, Michigan, and I went to a school where I was a demographic minority, and so I was just exposed to a lot more different kind of music than I might get in other spots. And it's always just had the first time I heard it, it just blew my mind. I've stuck with it ever since. And T-Love was a nickname from back in high school. I would like to say it was because I was such a ladies' man, but I think it was mostly ironic at the time. I draw my inspiration for my rapping because I basically just talk about stuff I do in class and just try to select kind of a good beat that I like. So I did something to Lazy Sunday, which came out a few years ago. I've done something to the Beastie Boys' Triple Trouble, did something to Otis, like Kanye and Jay-Z last year. So basically what I like to do is take something that's existing and kind of adapt it and make it a little fun.
All right, folks, thanks for joining us for another OwenBloggers podcast, and thank you to Tim Vogus, newly tenured professor here at Owen, and Steph for joining me. So thanks, and we'll see you guys next time.
Peace out.